You feel it, don't you? That stillness before the noise. The air around you is heavier now. That's not fear. It's recoil. The kind that follows when a spell backfires and the witches realize the smoke's crawling up their own throats. They lit the candles. They whispered your name with shaking lips. And now they can't stop watching their own reflection decay in real time. Because the spell worked, just not on you. You weren't the vessel, you were the mirror. Every curse they threw ricocheted through your veins, filtered through that unholy calm of yours, and went hunting for its owner like a guided missile made of karma. That's why they're twitching in silence now, shedding hair, losing sleep, whispering to themselves. Why does it feel like something's watching me? Because something is. You became it. They thought you were just flesh, easy to hex, easy to crush, easy to bury under gossip and ritual humiliation. But they never realized what kind of circuitry runs under your skin. You're not bones and blood anymore. You're voltage and vengeance. Your pain converted into current. Every betrayal, fuel, every attack, a battery charge. And now, the grid hums with your frequency. They burned sage to cleanse you. You inhaled the smoke and exhaled prophecy. They tried a binding spell, but your chaos is mathematical. You can't bind what was born from contradiction, saint and psychopath, angel and executioner, the medicine and the poison. You're what happens when a soul stops begging for peace and starts embodying balance. You didn't dodge their curse. You absorbed it, rewired it, and sent it home with interest. Now it's crawling under their fingernails, whispering your name in the back of their heads while they try to sleep. That's the real trick, isn't it? Magic isn't light or dark. It's reflective. Whatever energy you send comes back polished by truth. And truth, my friend, is you. They thought they could end you with fear. But fear bends toward fascination. Look at them now, scrolling through your name like it's forbidden scripture, pretending not to look while they study every frame, every quote, every pulse of your existence. They call it obsession, but it's worship wearing a mask of denial. The irony? The moment they tried to curse you was the moment they invoked you. You became their new religion. Their downfall is now tethered to your survival. The more they resist, the more they rot. Because you broke the oldest law, spells only work on believers, you stopped believing in their power. And that disbelief rewrote the code of reality. They said, don't play with fire. You built a home in it. They said, no one can survive that energy. You became the energy. They wanted you gone, but all they did was amplify the signal. The curse became your commercial. The ashes became your stage lights. And now every time their world flickers, they think of you. You see, destruction doesn't scare you anymore. It's the ecosystem you learned to breathe in. Pain doesn't wound, it translates. You speak fluently in catastrophe. You wear trauma like armor plated with laughter. That's why they can't track you. Their spells were written for mortals, not anomalies, not beings who bled truth and came out radioactive. You're proof that the dark doesn't destroy, it purifies. That's what they'll never admit. They weren't trying to break you. They were trying to understand you. And now they're paying tuition in nightmares because somewhere in the back of their mind, they know the real curse wasn't what they cast. It was meeting you. You're the test they failed, the glitch in their logic, the punishment disguised as enlightenment. Every strand of hair they lose, every sleepless night, every hollow prayer. It's the cost of trying to bind what was born boundless. So when you walk past the ruins of their rituals, don't gloat, just smile. Because you don't need to take revenge on people collapsing under their own energy. You are the silent audit of cosmic balance. The spell worked, just not on you. And somewhere, in the dark corners of their reflection, they'll realize what you already knew. You can't hex a storm that already made peace with lightning. So now they stare at their hands, shaking, whispering prayers that sound more like confessions. They feel the static on their skin when you pass by. They think it's coincidence, but deep down, they know. They feel the curse boomerang. They smell the ozone before it hits. They sense that something ancient is watching them through your eyes, something that doesn't blink, something that doesn't forgive. You walk in silence now, but that silence is loud. It hums, it bends the air. You became the kind of calm that terrifies entire rooms, the kind that makes people confess things you never asked for. Because your silence isn't absence, it's surveillance. Every lie they told echoes back through it like sonar, pinging their own guilt until they can't breathe. They tried to bury you in darkness, but darkness was your native language. Do you understand what that means? It means the abyss they sent you into became your training ground. The curses were lessons, the betrayals, sermons, and now you're fluent in every dialect of destruction. You don't fear what breaks you because you've learned to feed on it. You metabolize malice. You drink venom like coffee. They curse you at midnight, and you wake up glowing. You became the unexplainable variable, the one anomaly the equation couldn't consume. You turned their rituals into reverse-engineered blueprints of their downfall. They thought power meant control, but you showed them power is chaos mastered. It's smiling through pain because you've realized pain is just energy wearing a different mask. That's why they hate you and need you at the same time. You're their addiction and their undoing. They refresh your name like it's forbidden fruit, watching you become everything they wanted to be, but feared to become. Because you crossed the line they still tiptoe around, that line between self and shadow. You stopped pretending you were pure, and that's what made you unstoppable. You didn't resist the curse, you danced with it. You didn't reject your darkness, you negotiated with it. You signed no contract. You became the contract. The terms? Every drop of hate aimed at you must return home, carrying truth. That's the law you live by now, and the universe obeys it, faithfully, ruthlessly. And oh, how poetic it is to watch them unravel under their own spellwork. Their faces sink, their confidence fades, and the same words they used to hex you now feel heavy in their own mouths. Because when they cursed you, they bound themselves to your timeline. Every insult, every secret smear, every whispered ritual, they all became receipts. You didn't even need revenge. You just kept evolving, and evolution itself became execution. Now their nightmares look like your face. Their karma speaks in your voice, and every time they try to explain it away, their throat tightens, as if the air itself is correcting them. You became the force they can't rationalize, the living paradox that exposes their shallow faith. You don't destroy them. You let their own intent do the work. Because that's what happens when the universe recalibrates. You don't have to lift a hand. Energy always returns to sender. But you became the sender and the signal. You stopped being human currency, stopped being their outlet for guilt. You turned yourself into myth, into law, into consequence, and now they sit trembling, watching strands of hair fall into the sink, whispering, "Why me?" And the answer echoes back through every shadow they ever cast. Because you asked for it. Because you wanted to play with forces you didn't understand. Because you mistook quiet for weakness, empathy for permission. You thought you could curse a storm, but the storm was merciful enough to let you walk away, until you tried again. And now, you're no longer their victim, no longer their subject, you're the aftermath. The living audit of their intent. Their nightmares are your biography, their fear your applause. You walk through their chaos like a ghost through fog, untouchable, radiant, dangerous. Because the truth they'll never speak aloud is this: you weren't protected by luck or prayers or higher powers. You were protected by your own alignment. You live so precisely in your truth that falsehood dissolves when it touches you. That's why the spell reversed. That's why it burned them instead. The spell worked, just not on you. It worked on the ones who misunderstood you, the ones who mistook your silence for surrender, the ones who thought your empathy was an open wound instead of a blade disguised as mercy. They thought they could drain you, but you were the storm battery. They thought they could bind you, but you had already dissolved into air. You became the test, the living proof that when you evolve past fear, nothing external can command you. No curse, no ritual, no word, no opinion. You become the gravity everyone else starts orbiting around, whether they want to or not. And that's the punchline, isn't it? They thought they could hex you out of existence, but all they did was make you impossible to ignore. And now, every time they close their eyes, they see flashes of you, not as you were, but as something they helped summon. That's the irony. Their hatred fed you. Their fear shaped you. Every curse became a lesson in anatomy, teaching you exactly where their weaknesses hide. You didn't survive their spell. You studied it. You learned its rhythm, its texture, its temperature, until you could feel the pulse of every intention wrapped inside it. They'll never admit it, but they sense it. The recoil. The universe doesn't forget coordinates. Energy doesn't lose its way. And the thing about malice is, it travels in circles, always. That's why their laughter's brittle now. That's why mirrors start flickering when they walk past. They thought your silence meant defeat. But silence is the sound of reality rearranging itself in your favor. They thought they saw your end. What they actually witnessed was your upgrade, the metamorphosis of a soul that learned to weaponize grace. You are the one thing they can't comprehend: mercy with fangs, forgiveness laced with voltage. See, they imagined power as noise, screaming, posturing, performing. But your power hums beneath the surface. It's patient. It doesn't need witnesses. It only needs alignment. And when energy aligns, even curses lose their aim. That's why their rituals glitched. That's why their faith fractured. They were trying to manipulate what they never mastered. You didn't fight their spell. You understood it. You traced it back to its source, not them, but the wound inside them that birthed the need to curse you. And when you saw it, you didn't flinch. You smiled. Because that's when you realized they were never your enemies. They were your curriculum. Every curse is a teacher, every betrayal a mirror. And you, my friend, you've graduated. You've transcended the syllabus of suffering. You've stepped into a level of self-awareness so potent it bends karma itself. You've become the field, not the particle. You don't react anymore. You conduct. And that's why everything they send out now returns home to them tenfold. Not because you cursed them, but because you stopped absorbing their chaos. You stopped participating. You became neutral. And neutrality is the most terrifying state of all. Because neutrality means you're no longer programmable. You're no longer reactive. You're an observer. And observers rewrite the laws of the experiment simply by existing. You've become that anomaly, the one they whisper about in hushed tones. It doesn't work on them, the one they can't diagnose or replicate. You've evolved past the frequency where curses function. They were chanting in a language you outgrew, and now they're paying tuition in migraines and night terrors just to understand how you're still smiling. It's poetic, isn't it? They were so desperate to stop your rise that they invoked a force older than their understanding, and forgot that old magic doesn't take sides. It follows resonance, and your resonance. It's sovereign. You don't vibrate in fear anymore. You vibrate in inevitability. That's what terrifies them the most. You're no longer playing defense, you're simply being, and reality keeps reconfiguring itself around that fact. Their rituals fail because your frequency doesn't respond to old hierarchies. You've become your own archetype or your own mythology. You're a new equation in a language they can't speak. They see it in the little things. Their tech glitches when your name's mentioned. Their candles flicker when your face crosses their mind. Their dreams feel crowded, haunted by a calm they can't decode. That's you. Not a ghost, not vengeance, just reflection. They're facing the parts of themselves they tried to bury in you. And the cruelest part? You warned them. You didn't retaliate. You reflected. You didn't curse back. You corrected the field. You let the math of the cosmos handle the rest. And now that equation's cashing out in real time. Every rumor, every ritual, every thought coated in venom. It's all coming home, wearing their own handwriting. Meanwhile, you've never been quieter, calmer, more deliberate. Because when you stop running from darkness, darkness becomes your entourage. You wear it like silk now. It follows you, but not to haunt, to protect. Because it recognizes its master. That's the secret no one teaches. Once you stop fearing what hunts you, it starts guarding you. Once you stop begging for light, the dark crowns you its heir. And that's what they see now, the halo made of smoke, the smile that unnerves angels. You became the bridge between both worlds, the saint that sins with purpose, the demon that heals without asking permission. They call you unpredictable, but you're not. You're just free. And freedom looks insane to the enslaved. You're the walking contradiction that makes their dogma obsolete. Every breath you take rewrites an ancient rule. Every step you make reminds them. Evolution isn't polite. And so they keep asking, why them? Why did the spell bounce back? Because they still think you're mortal. They still think you're bound by symmetry. But you were forged asymmetrical, half shadow, half dawn. You were sculpted by pain until even suffering bowed. The spell did work. It just found a stronger magnet. It recognized the true source of imbalance. It didn't misfire. It simply delivered its message to the correct address. So now you walk through the aftermath like a ghost in daylight, untouchable, unbothered, unpredictable. You're the echo that hums after the explosion, the calm that follows revelation, the laughter that unnerves the universe itself. Because deep down, everyone knows. You can't curse the storm once it learns to enjoy the lightning. And that's why the air changes when you enter a room. Why the lights dim just slightly, as if the world itself is remembering who it's dealing with. You're not haunted, you're haunting. You carry the scent of aftermath, the residue of something that survived itself. The spell didn't just fail, it transferred ownership. It's yours now. You wear it like perfume, invisible but unmistakable, bending the laws around you like smoke bends light. They tried to play God in your story, forgetting that gods don't respond to names. They create them. You didn't block their magic, you redirected it. Their curses became currency. and you spent it on your evolution. You took every attempt to harm you and melted it into architecture. Now you stand inside a cathedral made of everything they threw away. They still think they can reverse it, rewrite the code, undo the burn, but every attempt just deepens the mark. Because here's the thing, once a spell realizes its mistake, it doesn't vanish. It kneels, and that's what's happening now. The universe itself is bowing to the version of you that refused to die. You've become a walking paradox, sacred and profane, destruction in perfect equilibrium with creation. You're the proof that light and dark were never enemies. They were just mirrors waiting to recognize each other. And you're the reflection that finally looked back. That's why their fear feels holy now. That's why even the ones who mocked your fall now whisper your rise like gospel. They don't understand it, but they feel it. That sense that they touched something forbidden, that they tried to poison you, but the antidote was already in your blood. And the irony? You never even wanted revenge. You wanted truth. And truth always collects its debts, quietly, precisely, without mercy. So let them keep guessing how you did it. Let them tell stories about how their curses turned into omens, how their prayers returned with static, how every mirror in their house started whispering your name. Let them pretend it was coincidence. Let them rationalize it until their sanity fractures. Because you don't need to prove anything anymore. You are the proof. You are the result of every storm that thought it could drown you. You are what happens when pain becomes art and darkness becomes direction. You didn't beat the spell. You became the counter spell. And now, when they see you, they'll finally understand what real power looks like. It's not loud. It doesn't chase. It simply exists, unmovable, unreachable, unforgivable in its beauty. Because the truth is simple. The spell worked. It just remembered who it was meant for. And now, they're the ones unraveling. While you stand there smiling, crowned in the ashes of their intent, untouched, unbothered, and gloriously impossible to curse. You hear that? That's the sound of correction. The quiet panic in a room full of people who once called you delusional, now whispering your name like it's a password to reality itself. They used your name as evidence. You didn't just win the argument. You rewired the laws of perception. Funny, isn't it? The same mouths that spat your name like venom now pronounce it like scripture. They quote you to each other in hushed tones, pretending it's common sense, when you can still hear the echo of their laughter from the first time you said it. See, that's the irony they can't process. You didn't fight to prove them wrong. You just kept existing. You kept bleeding truth until the lie bled out first. You let their mockery rot in daylight until it decomposed into proof. They thought time would erase you. Time crowned you instead. You became the gravitational center of their narrative, their data, their faith. You are the unspoken reference point in every conversation they have now, the ghost that lingers in their certainty, the unacknowledged footnote in their sanity. You didn't argue, you altered, you didn't persuade, you polarized, you didn't demand belief. You became undeniable. That's the part that terrifies them. Because when you redefine reality, they can't win anymore. Not because you defeated them, but because the rules changed around you. They built their identities on being right. You built yours on being real. And real doesn't need validation. It simply absorbs the world until the world adjusts its definition. You weren't meant to fit their framework. You were meant to shatter it. And now the shards of your defiance are what they use to see clearly. They didn't realize you were never debating them. You were dissecting them. Every time you went silent, they mistook it for surrender. What they didn't notice was that silence is the most intelligent weapon in existence. It gives people room to destroy themselves with their own noise. You didn't need to win the argument. You became the argument itself. The living contradiction, the paradox they can't process. You are what happens when truth stops asking for permission. They call you dangerous because you don't bend when they panic. You don't shrink when they isolate. You stand there, smiling, while their confidence decays in your presence. Because somewhere deep inside, they know the truth. You weren't trying to be right. You were trying to be free. And freedom is terrifying to people still chained to perception. They studied you to find your weakness. Instead, they discovered a mirror. And that mirror didn't lie. It reflected their limitations, their cowardice, their dependency on consensus. You showed them how fragile their beliefs were, how easily truth bends when the right pressure is applied. That's why they used your name as evidence. Not because they respect you, but because they need you. Your existence justifies their entire system of thought now. Without you, their logic collapses. Without you, their foundation crumbles. They said you were unstable. Now their sanity balances on the edge of your validation. They said you were arrogant. Now they plagiarize your defiance to look confident. They said you were wrong. Now you're the metric for correctness. You didn't change the conversation. You changed the physics of it. The world bends differently around you now, and yet you're still the calm in the chaos, the saint in the asylum, the scientist of your own suffering. Because every revelation you speak carries residue of pain, and they feel it, like static under their skin. That's why your voice unsettles them. It's not what you say, it's what you remind them of, that truth has a temperature, and you've been forged in its fire. They mistake your certainty for cruelty. But you're not cruel, you're clear. And clarity feels violent to those who've never lived without distortion. You see both sides, light and dark, angel and demon. You are not split, you are synthesized. That's your power. You don't choose between them. You command both. And when you speak, the room shifts. Not because of dominance, but because your voice carries consequence. Every syllable lands like evidence from another dimension. You don't argue, you reveal. That's what scares them most. You make truth feel inevitable. You became the storm they tried to forecast and failed. The proof they tried to bury, but the earth kept spitting back up. You see, they never hated you for being wrong. They hated you for being early. Because you lived 10 steps ahead, spiritually, psychologically, perceptually. You saw patterns they couldn't decode until they were choking on them. You saw collapse coming before they even knew they were standing on borrowed stability. And now that it's happening, now that reality is reshaping itself to the blueprint you sketched in chaos, they can't deny it anymore. So they quote you, they echo you, they baptize their fear with your name to make it sound like courage. And you let them. Because you know the secret. You were never trying to convince them. You were teaching them by survival. They called it obsession. You called it vision. They called it ego. You called it identity reclamation. They called it madness. You called it pattern recognition. Now your madness is their syllabus. Your rebellion is their doctrine. Your existence is their proof. They used your name as evidence. But they don't realize you are the evidence, the walking contradiction that makes the equation make sense, the ghost in the machine that rewrote the source code from within. the anomaly that turned into architecture. So let them preach your words like gospel. Let them hide their envy behind applause. Let them quote you in rooms where your presence still haunts the air, because in the end, they'll never admit what they know deep down. You didn't just redefine the argument. You redefined reality. And that's something no headline, no council, no God can undo. You broke through the ceiling of consensus and turned the debris into constellations. Now they navigate by your ruins and call it truth. Do you feel that hum under your skin? That slow vibration that follows you everywhere now, like the world itself started moving to your frequency? That's not imagination. That's alignment. The universe adjusted its axis because you refused to bow to delusion. They called you crazy for seeing the cracks. They laughed when you said the truth doesn't need applause. It needs witnesses. And now they can't speak without quoting you. They use your name as a safety net, as if invoking you grants them proximity to reality. But it doesn't, does it? Because you can't plagiarize awakening. You earned it the hard way. Through nights where your mind wouldn't shut off. Through betrayals that peeled your sanity open like a wound. Through silence so thick it carved your name into the dark. That's where your clarity came from. That's where your voice learned its tone. The tone that cuts through deceit like a surgical blade. And now they flinch when you talk. They brace for impact when you breathe. They sense it. The way every sentence you speak carries gravity. The way truth bends toward you like metal to a magnet. They used to interrupt you. Now they quote you. They used to debate you. Now they design policies around your perspective. They used to call you arrogant. Now they mimic your confidence and hope no one notices the difference. That's what it means to redefine reality. You didn't need to win the game. You became the rule book. See, people think truth is discovered. It's not. It's authored. And you, my friend, became the author. Your pain wrote the preface. Your persistence wrote the sequel. And their denial? That was just the marketing. They called you delusional. But delusion is just premature truth. Every visionary sounds insane until time catches up. And now, time is your proof. You watch the same mouths that mocked you begin repeating your theories like gospel, stripping away your name to make the revelation look spontaneous. They don't understand that the universe keeps credit. Reality remembers its architects. When they speak your words, the air still bends the same way, because frequency isn't copyrightable. You can't fake resonance. They feel it when they talk about you, that nervous tick, that sudden silence that crawls up their throats mid-sentence. Because deep down, they know. They didn't just lose an argument. They lost orientation. Your existence rearranged the coordinates of their understanding. Their north is now your name, their logic, your leftovers, their awakening, your echo. And you didn't even mean to do it. You were just trying to survive the noise. But survival became study, study became mastery, and mastery became myth. You're not human to them anymore, you're reference material, an anomaly that refused to self-destruct on schedule. A phenomenon written into the margins of their textbooks under the chapter labeled unexplained. That's why they whisper. That's why they rehearse before speaking near you. Because your presence exposes lies the way sunlight exposes dust. You make them aware of their falseness. You make them hear the static in their own speech. You turned introspection into contagion. They call it intimidation. It's not. It's recognition. They recognize a creature who doesn't depend on consensus. They recognize a being who doesn't flinch when stripped of validation. They recognize someone whose reality is self-sustaining. You crossed a border most people never even approach, the line between belief and embodiment. You don't believe anymore, you know. And knowledge that pure doesn't negotiate. That's why you terrify them. You didn't become louder, you became inevitable. You speak, and things start happening. Not because of magic, but because you finally stopped contradicting yourself. You aligned your inner world so precisely that outer reality had no choice but to synchronize. They used to say you manifest. Now they say you manipulate physics. Same thing, different comprehension level. They can't tell if you're angel or algorithm. They don't understand that both are correct. Because when you burn long enough in truth's furnace, your soul becomes circuitry. You start conducting power instead of chasing it. You start bending outcomes instead of begging for them. You learned how to weaponize perception, how to use silence as a scalpel, how to let contradiction coexist until it created clarity. You didn't pick sides between light and dark. You merged them, and from that union came something holy and horrifying. That's the essence of power. Duality reconciled. The saint that understands sin. The demon that remembers grace. The human who learned how to look God in the eye without blinking. And that's you now. That's why they can't win against you. Because you no longer play from ego. You play from equilibrium. You've seen the script from both ends. You've watched truth dressed as lies, and lies pretending to be truth. You've learned that good and evil are just costumes consciousness wears to study itself. So you stand in the center, unshaken, while everyone else clings to extremes for comfort. And from that center, your words carry weight. Not because you force belief, but because you embody evidence. You are the test and the testimony, the question and the proof, the contradiction that solved itself. They used your name as evidence because your existence is proof that transformation is possible, that insanity is just the chrysalis of genius, that suffering can evolve into authority. They can't take that from you. They can quote it, copy it, commercialize it, but the origin stays in your blood. The truth was tattooed into your nervous system long before they caught up. So let them keep reciting you. Let them keep mistaking plagiarism for understanding. Let them keep pretending they don't remember how hard they tried to bury you. Because you don't need credit. You already have control. You own the current they swim in. You authored the algorithm they now worship. And somewhere deep down, behind their applause and their envy, they know. You didn't just redefine reality. You became the proof that reality is editable. That's your legacy, not revenge, not recognition, but recalibration. You are the invisible architect of their sanity, the ghostwriter of their truth, the one who showed the world that when lies collapse, the sound it makes is your name. You remember the moment it all shifted, don't you? That one heartbeat where the noise fell away and everything got terrifyingly quiet. No thunder, no applause, just realization. Cold, surgical, absolute. You weren't chasing truth anymore. You were carrying it, and carrying truth is heavy. It bends your back until your spine turns to steel. It empties your chest until your lungs can only breathe honesty. It burns away the soft, pleasing parts until all that's left is the core, unflinching, indestructible. That's what they felt when they looked at you. That's what made them step back. It wasn't rage. It wasn't violence. It was density. You had become too real for the simulation they live in. They used your name as evidence because your life itself became a case study in reality disruption. Every contradiction you embodied, compassion and cruelty, light and shadow, grace and vengeance, proved a theory they didn't even have language for yet. That duality is not chaos. It's completeness. You learn to hold both fire and forgiveness in the same hand. You learn to smile through the collapse of your own identity and call it rebirth. They watched, horrified, because what they fear most isn't failure. It's the death of their masks. And you tore yours off without ceremony. They called it madness because transformation always looks like insanity from the outside. They called it arrogance because confidence built from clarity feels like arrogance to those addicted to confusion. They called it manipulation because energy that's strong feels like control when you don't understand resonance. But deep down, they knew. They always knew. You were the real thing, the unfiltered human, the one they could never predict, never domesticate, never fully categorize. You were both the prophecy and the proof, the sin and the salvation, the experiment that survived its own explosion. That's why they quote you now. It's not admiration. It's survival instinct. They need your words to make sense of their collapse. They need your existence to justify their awakening. They need you because you remind them that truth can bleed and still be beautiful. They study your tone. They dissect your timing. They replay your silence trying to find the secret, not realizing that the secret is self-awareness sharpened into inevitability. You didn't just redefine reality. You infected it. You became viral on a cosmic level. The kind of truth that doesn't spread through talk, but through vibration. You enter a room and things rearrange themselves subconsciously. You speak, and thoughts that didn't exist before start forming in other minds. That's why they're unsettled. That's why they whisper. Because your energy doesn't argue, it rewrites. You felt it, haven't you? That moment when someone looks at you and their facade collapses mid-sentence. That split second of micro-terror when their soul realizes it's been seen. Not admired, not judged. Seen. You didn't plan it. It's just what happens when awareness reaches critical mass. You became the embodiment of pattern recognition. You see the loops, the lies, the self-deceptions. You see them not as crimes, but as coordinates. You can read people like maps now. Where they've been, where they broke, where they still hide the fragments of themselves they don't want to meet. You didn't ask for that gift, but pain gave it to you anyway. Pain is the cruelest teacher, but also the most honest. It strips away illusions, one scream at a time, until you're fluent in human fragility. And when you finally mastered it, when you stopped resenting your scars and started studying them, that's when the transformation completed. You didn't conquer darkness. You integrated it. You didn't escape hell. You renovated it. Now, when people speak your name, there's a pause. That pause is reverence disguised as fear. It's the soul remembering something ancient. The last time it met someone who carried truth without flinching. They can't unsee you. They can't unhear you. You're lodged in their collective consciousness like a watermark. Even when they erase your credit, your frequency remains. That's the ultimate revenge. Permanence, without participation. You don't have to fight anymore. The work is done. The proof is written in their behavior, in their language, in the way their reality subtly orbits the concepts you introduced. They'll call it progress. They'll call it culture. They'll call it the new paradigm. But you and I both know the name it was born from. So let them keep pretending it was inevitable. Let them sanitize your chaos and sell it as enlightenment. Let them bury your fingerprints beneath the label of collective change. Because no matter how far they run from the source, every word they use still hums with your signature, your tone, your rhythm, your defiance. They used your name as evidence because, in the end, The only proof of truth is transformation, and transformation is all you ever were. So stand there, quiet, unapologetic. Let them quote you, let them misunderstand you, let them twist the narrative until they suffocate on their own edits. Because history doesn't remember arguments, it remembers outcomes. And the outcome is this: they doubted you, feared you, mimicked you, and in doing so, they confirmed you. You didn't just win, you became the definition of winning. You turned opposition into validation, disbelief into documentation, resistance into research, and now every time someone tries to question reality, they use your name as the example, not to praise you, but to orient themselves. Because somewhere between their denial and your endurance, the world learned a new rule. Reality bends to the one who refuses to, and that's you. The unbroken axis around which the story spins, the proof written in breath and blood, the reminder that the universe listens only to those who dare to speak its language fluently. Pain, patience, precision. They used your name as evidence. But what they don't understand is that you're still writing the next experiment. And that's the part they'll never admit. That all their theories, all their certainty, all their arguments are now traced back to you. They try to act casual about it, but you can see it in their eyes. They move differently now, measuring every word like they're afraid to contradict the world you already built. You don't need to remind them who you are. Existence did that for you. You don't need to fight for credit. The resonance speaks louder than proof. Every sentence they speak that sounds even remotely true hums with your frequency. That's what power really is. Not applause, not dominance, echo. You said something once and the world has been rearranging itself ever since. So when you hear them use your name as evidence, don't flinch, don't smile. Just understand what it means. The myth became metric. You stopped being a participant in their story. You became the standard that measures it. And when the noise fades and the last voice falls quiet, the world will still hum your tone. Because you didn't just win the argument, you changed what truth sounds like. Listen, you hear that? That sound outside your window? That's not chaos, darling. That's confirmation. The streets are screaming now, and you're just sitting there, calm, silent, watching the prophecy unfold like a rerun of a show you already memorized. Because deep down, you knew. You always did. You told them. You warned them. You showed them what happens when you ignore the cracks in the mask of normalcy. When the rot beneath the smile starts to spread. But they laughed, didn't they? They called you dramatic, paranoid, too much. Now their voices are trembling through static while you sit back like, welcome to my forecast. You see, people like you aren't born into calm weather. You're born inside storms that never stopped screaming. You learned how to navigate panic the way others learn how to breathe. You stopped flinching when the world shook because earthquakes became lullabies. And that's what terrifies them, isn't it? That while they break under the weight of the collapse, you're rebuilding empires in the ashes, humming while the sirens cry. They don't get it. They never will. They think you're cold because you stopped reacting. They mistake your composure for cruelty, your detachment for madness. But what you really are is finished pretending. You spent years begging the blind to see, years warning the deaf that the silence wasn't peace. It was the inhale before the detonation. You've outgrown panic. You've evolved past fear. You've become the kind of calm that only exists after death or revelation. And you chose both. Let's tell them a secret, shall we? The storm didn't break the system. The system was the storm. You just learned how to dance inside it. That's why they're panicking. You're the equation they can't solve. The contradiction that shouldn't exist. The one who's been through hell and came back smiling like it was vacation. You turned the apocalypse into ambience. You redefined collapse as opportunity. They ask, why aren't you scared? You smile. Because you remember when this world first went dark. You were there when the masks cracked. You saw the truth hiding behind there. Everything's fine. You felt the lie in every handshake, the hypocrisy in every promise. You watched them call corruption order and madness morality. And now the illusion's crumbling in real time, and they want you to panic with them? No, you refuse. You already did your panic years ago. Now you operate like an instrument of inevitability. That smirk on your face, it's not arrogance. It's recognition. You've seen this timeline before. You remember every betrayal that forged your detachment, every night that rewired your empathy into discernment. You remember when your hope died and your clarity was born? The day you stopped begging for mercy from systems built to consume you. That was the day you became untouchable. They don't understand that the reason you're calm isn't because you don't feel. It's because you've already felt everything. Every loss, every humiliation, every abandonment. Processed, metabolized, weaponized. You've walked through every circle of hell so many times that now, even demons step aside when you enter. You don't just survive storms anymore. You forecast them. You predict collapse with surgical precision. You're the weatherman of catastrophe, and the city's finally catching up to your broadcast. And oh, how poetic, isn't it? The same people who mocked your warnings now quoting your words like scripture. The same voices that once laughed now trembling with recognition. Because the truth has a sound. And tonight, it's sirens, fire, and static. They say, the world's ending. You say, no, the veil is. You know what power really is? It's not money. It's not followers. It's the ability to stay still when everyone else loses their mind. It's to watch the building burn without flinching, knowing you've already mapped the escape routes years in advance. It's smiling while the noise rises because you no longer fear noise. You are the signal behind it. They'll call you heartless. They'll call you detached, but they'll never call you unprepared. Because this screaming city, this unraveling illusion, is your natural habitat. You were born for this era. You were built for collapse. You are the eye of every storm, and the ghost that haunts every system that tried to bury you. You are both architect and arsonist, healer and hurricane. A contradiction designed to expose contradictions. You don't fight chaos anymore. You embody it, direct it, sculpt it. Because once you understand the rhythm of destruction, you realize something beautiful. Destruction isn't the end. It's evolution, wearing fire as a costume. And that's why you're calm. That's why you're smiling. Because you know, deep in that deranged, divine little mind of yours, that every scream outside is the sound of falsehood dying. Every panic is truth clawing its way to the surface. Every burning streetlight is a flare saying, he was right. He knew. So let them scream. Let the streets echo with their confusion. You've already made peace with this version of hell. You own it. You're not reacting because you predicted it. You're not panicking because you planned it. You're not afraid because you became it. The streets are screaming now, and you're the one who gave them something to scream about. You sit there in that stillness, that eerie calm, and the irony drips thicker than blood. Because once upon a time, you were the one screaming. Remember? When the world pretended not to hear you. When you bled warnings into every silence and called it hope. When you begged the blind to see the fire coming and they laughed because the air still smelled clean. Now the scent of smoke is everywhere, and suddenly everyone wants your map. But it's too late. Your map was written in scars they refused to look at. You don't say a word. You don't need to. The city's symphony of chaos plays your old melody perfectly. Sirens, crashes, hysteria. The same soundtrack that once echoed inside your skull while everyone else danced to denial. You don't even smile anymore. You just watch. Because what they call disaster, you call justice delayed. You learned long ago that real warnings are never believed until the ruin arrives. They only listen when the floor gives out, when the smoke blinds their pride. That's when they crawl back to the one they mocked, whispering, "You were right." But being right was never the goal, was it? No. The goal was survival. The goal was clarity. And you reached it. Painfully. Brutally. Beautifully. They think you're cruel because you don't join the panic. But you're not cruel. You're finished. Finished wasting compassion on those who spat on your caution. Finished explaining to people who worship convenience and call it peace. You've evolved past the need to be understood. You live in the silence that follows every explosion, where truth stands naked and everything fake has turned to ash. And now they finally see the world as you saw it. Raw, fragile, broken, honest. The masks are off, and no one likes what they see underneath. They don't realize that you've already buried that version of yourself who needed their validation. You've mourned your old humanity and stitched a new one from the ruins. You no longer flinch when the lights go out. Darkness feels like home now. They'll ask you how you stay calm, how you can sit there while everything burns. You could tell them the truth, that peace doesn't come from light. It comes from finally accepting the dark, that you didn't escape the chaos. You merged with it. You learned to breathe smoke like oxygen, to make pain an instrument instead of an enemy. You turned despair into data. You studied suffering until it started to make sense, and in that sense you found freedom. The world calls you unfeeling because they can't imagine a heart that learned logic through agony. But you know what you are. A paradox in human skin. You cry without tears, laugh without joy, love without attachment. You operate on the frequency of ghosts now, tuned into every hidden frequency of decay and rebirth. Let them call it madness. You call it mastery, because you've seen both sides of the coin, saint and psychopath, savior and saboteur. You've walked that razor's edge between compassion and vengeance, and you didn't fall. You balanced. You became the gray no one dares to admit exists. You understand now. Angels burn, demons heal, and the line between the two is nothing but perspective. That's why your calm is terrifying, because it's not ignorance, it's graduation. You outgrew fear the same way fire outgrows a match. You've burned too many times to care about the next spark. You've already died and come back laughing. What can collapse take from someone who's already built castles out of collapse itself? You own the ruins. Listen to the rhythm outside. Sirens, screams, glass breaking, hearts breaking louder. That's the sound of evolution. That's the planet exhaling all the lies it's been choking on. That's the sound of your forecast becoming fact. They said you were paranoid. Now they're calling you prophetic. They said you were cold. Now they're begging for your composure. They said you were crazy. Now they're trying to borrow your calm. But calm like this isn't taught. It's earned in blood, betrayal, and silence. It's the serenity that only comes after you've lost everything that was never real. It's not peace, it's precision. You don't chase peace anymore because you are the balance point between war and stillness. So let them scream, let them tear the city apart. You've been through worse inside your own head. You've lived 1,000 apocalypses privately before the first siren ever rang. That's why you sit there now, motionless, watching the forecast unfold like you've seen this weather before. Because you have. And if you close your eyes, you can almost hear your past self laughing. The one who begged them to see, the one who tried to save them. That version of you died the day you realized you were never meant to be the warning. You were meant to be the witness. The evidence that clarity survives collapse. You didn't lose your mind, love. You lost your illusion, and now you're finally free. So when the streets scream tonight, when the world wails in confusion, and the sirens blend into symphonies of regret, don't move. Don't blink. Just listen. Because every sound out there is the echo of a truth you carried alone for too long. You were never crazy. You were early. Welcome to your forecast. The air tastes like static now, doesn't it? That metallic hum right before something explodes. You can feel it vibrating through your bones. The collective panic. The cracks in the illusion widening with every scream echoing off those broken walls outside. And still you don't move. You just sit there, calm, centered, the only thing in this burning circus that makes sense. Because you've been here before. Not in this exact moment, but in essence. You've watched things fall apart too many times to mistake it for the end. You know better. Collapse is not destruction, it's exposure. It reveals who's built on lies and who's built on loss. It separates the ones who pretend to understand life from the ones who've wrestled it naked and bleeding in the dark. And you, my friend, you're the latter. You always were. They're screaming now, clawing at the edges of comfort like it'll stop the unraveling, begging for leaders, saviors, distractions, anything but truth. But you've outgrown saviors. You've seen how quickly a savior becomes a tyrant when people hand over their fear. You don't follow anymore, you forecast. You saw the storm forming while they were still laughing at the thunder. You mapped it. You learned its language. And now, while they panic, you translate the chaos like poetry. This is what they never understood about you. You weren't trying to be dark. You were trying to be real. You just learned early that light without shadow is propaganda. That positivity without pain is delusion. You don't chase hope anymore because you realized hope is a leash, one they use to keep the obedient still. You don't need hope. You have awareness. You have vision, you see. And seeing, truly seeing, is terrifying. It means watching people you love build their identities around lies. It means recognizing how easily morality bends when comfort's at stake. It means standing in the middle of a burning world and realizing the flames aren't punishment. They're purification. That's why you're calm, because this fire, it's not against you, it's for you. You earned this apocalypse. You manifested it with every unhealed truth you refused to hide. You became the mirror no one wanted to look into. And now, they're all being forced to. That's why they hate you. That's why they fear you. Because you were the first one to break the trance. The first to say, maybe the cage was never locked. They thought you were insane for wanting to see the world burn. But they never realized. You didn't want destruction. You wanted authenticity. You wanted the masks gone, the systems stripped bare, the false gods dethroned. You wanted the world to stop pretending. And that's exactly what's happening. The world's not ending, darling. It's unmasking. You sit there, the only stillness left in a city convulsing with revelation. You don't blink. You don't flinch. You simply watch. Because panic is the language of the uninitiated. But silence is the dialect of those who already made peace with the end. You know that every scream out there is just the sound of denial dying. They don't see what you see. They don't understand that when everything collapses, power shifts. The moment chaos becomes universal, control becomes internal. You hold that power now. You don't need armies, followers, or allies. You've mastered the oldest form of control, composure. You're the blueprint of what comes after collapse. A creature born from ashes, fluent in endings, immune to noise. You don't crave revenge or recognition. Your satisfaction comes from knowing that truth always wins. Quietly, inevitably, brutally. You don't destroy people anymore. You let their lies do it for you. You just watch and wait and smile. They'll call you heartless. They'll say you've lost empathy. But empathy without boundaries is suicide, and you've already died too many times to keep playing martyr. You understand now that mercy and madness are cousins, that sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let people meet the consequences they begged to escape. The streets scream because they've never had to face themselves without distraction. They scream because every illusion they built is evaporating in the heat of consequence. But you don't scream. You breathe, slowly, deeply. You breathe like someone who finally realizes that peace doesn't come from avoiding the fire. It comes from walking through it until the flames recognize you. You are the outcome they fear. A being who no longer breaks when the world does. A soul so tempered by pain that chaos bends around your stillness like wind around a mountain. You no longer resist change. You become it. And isn't that what they can't stand? That you turned every betrayal into blueprint, every heartbreak into hypothesis, every loss into leverage. You didn't heal, no. You evolved. Healing is what they do to go back to who they were. Evolution is what you do when you refuse to go back. You don't pray for peace anymore. You pray for precision. You don't beg for understanding. You weaponize it. Because when you've been through hell enough times, you realize that demons are just angels who remember too much. And maybe so are you. So when they whisper your name like a warning, let them. You've become mythology to people who can't understand metamorphosis. They call you dangerous because you remind them of everything they buried alive. Let them scream. Let them fall. Let them finally see what you saw years ago. Because every collapse begins as someone's prophecy, and tonight, this one's yours. You don't sit in silence because you're emotionless. You sit in silence because you won. Because the world finally sounds like your memories. Because the fire outside finally matches the one you've carried inside for years. So sit there. Watch the chaos sing your name. Let them tremble while you sip your calm, like it's holy wine. You're not waiting for the storm to pass. You are the stillness that makes the storm meaningful. The streets are screaming now. And you're the forecast fulfilled. The smoke outside curls into shapes you once saw in your dreams. Faces, fragments, memories of warnings ignored. You almost laugh. It's all so familiar, like déjà vu wearing a crown of flames. They'll spend lifetimes trying to understand how you stayed still while the world broke. But that's the secret, isn't it? Stillness isn't weakness. It's awareness sharpened into a weapon. You've already lived this ending inside your mind 1,000 times. You rehearsed it in silence, perfected it in pain. And now that it's real, you don't fear it. You recognize it. This was never about destruction. It was about revelation. The world had to burn to see what survives the fire. And you did. You didn't just survive it. You became the reason it started, the proof that pain can evolve into prophecy. So now when they scream, you let them. When they fall, you watch. You don't celebrate. You don't gloat. You understand. Because the same storm that destroyed them once built you. And somewhere deep down, you pity them. Not because they're broken, but because they still think breaking is the end. You lean back, listening to the sirens fade into background music. That's not fear anymore. It's rhythm. It's life rearranging itself around the truth you always carried. The streets are still screaming. But you're done explaining. You gave them the forecast. Now they're living in it. Don't look around. Not yet. You heard it, didn't you? That whisper. Your name, sliding through the air like a knife wrapped in silk. The sound didn't come from a person. It came from a pulse. The moment they said it, something shifted. The energy thickened. Even the bold ones, the ones who thought they could play with your shadow, suddenly forgot how to breathe. That's when it hit them. They weren't talking about you. They were talking about what you've become. You see, there's a reason they whisper your name now. It's not fear of what you'll do. It's fear of what they already did. Somewhere along the line, they realized you weren't part of their little equation anymore. You stopped being predictable. You stopped being safe. You started moving like something that remembers every betrayal, but forgives nothing. They used to laugh when you walked into the room. Now they listen for footsteps before they enter it, because they've learned the hard way. Your silence is a weapon sharper than any scream. You don't argue. You don't defend. You let them choke on their own speculation. You became the mirror they can't stand to look at, because it reflects everything they buried under smiles and small talk. They're praying now, you know, not to God, to luck. Because luck's the only deity that listens to liars. They're praying you don't find out what they said, or who started it, or how far it spread. But you already know. You've known since that first shift in the air, since the moment your spine tingled and your blood went cold. That wasn't paranoia. That was your intuition snapping awake like a beast that's been starved too long. Because evolution doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It whispers your name across timelines, through conversations you were never supposed to hear, through lips that swore they'd never mention you again. You can feel it, can't you? That static between your ribs. That's not anxiety. That's your aura remembering what it means to be hunted. They used to call you dramatic. Now they call you dangerous. They used to call you sensitive. Now they call you unpredictable. But you didn't change. You shed. You burned off the layers that made you palatable, forgivable, containable. You killed the part of you that begged to be understood, and what rose from that grave was something they don't have a language for. And that's why they whisper. Because what are words to people who can't describe a force? What's gossip to a ghost that breathes? You're not a person anymore. You're a phenomenon, a living glitch in their storyline. They built you into the villain of their bedtime stories, but now they realize you're the plot twist that refuses to end. It's funny, isn't it? They thought silence meant weakness, that because you didn't clap back, you'd never come back. But here you are, calm, collected, terrifyingly aware. You walk through rooms like an omen they can't pray away. Every breath you take makes someone's mask crack. Every time you smile, a secret dies. You didn't seek revenge, you became it. You turned every scar into a signature, every loss into leverage. You learned the art of haunting while still alive. That's your real power. You don't chase people. You don't expose them. You let the universe reroute karma through your calm. And it always does. That's why they flinch when the lights flicker. That's why they pause mid-laugh when your name comes up. They know they're living inside the story of someone they underestimated, someone who remembers details they dismissed. You, my friend, are the embodiment of divine contradiction, angelic patience wrapped around demonic precision. You don't shout for vengeance. You let the silence rot their conscience until it eats through bone. You let their guilt do the screaming for you. And when they ask, who whispered your name? The real answer is you did. You summoned yourself back from every grave they dug. You resurrected the version they thought was gone. The whisper was the universe saying, he's awake now. Now even the bold ones aren't breathing right, because they sense it. That chill in the air isn't the weather. It's the return of consequence. So go on. Walk through their fear like it's confetti. Smile like the apocalypse is personal. You don't need to lift a finger. Your existence is already the revenge. They whispered your name once. Now it echoes like thunder. You know what's funny? The louder they laughed back then, the quieter they are now. Every single one of them feels that cold tickle in the back of their throat, the one that makes their voice catch when they try to speak your name again. Because deep down, they know the whisper wasn't random. It wasn't rumor. It was prophecy. They whispered your name. And something ancient inside the walls woke up. The air changed. The rhythm of the world bent around you. You felt it, didn't you? That pressure behind your eyes, that weight in your chest, like the universe itself inhaled sharply and never exhaled again. Because when they whispered your name, they accidentally summoned everything they buried you with. You don't even have to confront them anymore. That's the part that breaks their spirit. You don't need to expose anyone. Your energy does it for you. The guilt on their faces, the sudden tension in their shoulders, the way their laughs die too quickly when you appear. That's the confession. That's the courtroom. That's the verdict. They used to think silence was your weakness. Now they're terrified by how still you've become. Because stillness in you isn't peace. It's calculation. It's the sound of thunder before it learns how to crawl. You stand there, quiet. But every molecule around you is listening. Every lie, every plan, every word they whispered. It trembles inside your atmosphere like static waiting to strike. You learned the oldest truth. Power doesn't come from noise. It comes from restraint, from knowing you could destroy and choosing to rebuild instead. That's what terrifies them the most. They can't figure out what you want, because chaos wants reaction. But you want revelation. You turned your pain into pattern recognition. Every betrayal sharpened your perception. Every silence taught you which frequencies carry deceit. You don't just walk into rooms anymore. You read them. You feel the pulse of hidden conversations before they start. You see the shifts in people's eyes when their souls start calculating exits. And now, they whisper your name, not because you're feared, but because you're felt. Even in your absence, they sense you like static before a lightning strike. They sense your memory rearranging their futures. They call it anxiety, but it's recognition of the one they couldn't destroy, the one who became the warning, the irony. You never sought this. You never wanted power. You wanted peace. But peace requires monsters to acknowledge what they've done, and cowards never do. So the universe did it for you. It made your presence their confession booth. It made your energy the trial. Every time someone mentions you, a chain reaction begins. Rooms fall silent. People glance at each other, calculating what you know, wondering how much time they have before the truth crawls back to the surface. It's beautiful, really. Watching them drown in the same silence they once weaponized against you. You stopped needing revenge when you realized the cycle runs itself. They create their own downfall by fearing your rise. Every lie they told about you aged like acid in their own bloodstream. Every time they whispered your name, they were etching a curse into their reality. You didn't need to cast a spell. You are the spell. Your survival rewrote the script. You broke the algorithm that was meant to bury you. You're not here to clear your name. You're here to redefine it. And that's what they can't process. They thought whispering your name would make you smaller. But your silence turned it into something holy. Look at them now, pretending not to see you, pretending not to care. But their body language betrays them. That nervous tap of the foot, that forced laugh, the sudden fascination with the floor when you speak. The human mind knows when it's in the presence of someone who transcended the rules. You became something outside their understanding. Saint and psychopath, angel and weapon, contradiction made flesh. You didn't rise to be liked. You rose to exist loudly in your quiet, to make every room feel your absence when you leave. You evolved past validation, and that's when fear switched sides. They whisper because speaking your name too loud might bring the consequences faster, and yet, deep down, they admire it. They envy the freedom you earned in blood. Because you did what they couldn't. You faced yourself. You walked through humiliation, betrayal, and fire. And instead of melting, you absorbed it. You learned the art of alchemy, turning suffering into signal. Now you glow differently. Not the soft light of someone healed. The dangerous light of someone aware. The kind of light that doesn't ask permission to shine. The kind that exposes. That's why their eyes dart away when yours lock in. You're not threatening them. You're reminding them that they once underestimated something eternal. Because this isn't vengeance anymore. It's transformation. You didn't just survive them. You transcended them. You became the living proof that pain, when mastered, becomes prophecy. Every wound you endured became a seed of power. Every scar became a line in your manifesto. And now the world bends around that energy like metal around a magnet. So when they whisper your name again, let them. It's the sound of fear dressing itself as fascination. It's the proof that you left an imprint they can't erase. You don't need to correct them, defend yourself, or lower your frequency. You've already won. Because the truth is, no one whispered your name. The universe did. The wind carried it. The walls repeated it. And now the bold ones, the loud ones, can't breathe right because they finally realized they weren't watching your downfall. They were witnessing your arrival. You feel it, don't you? That subtle electricity crawling under your skin like a secret you haven't said out loud yet. The room pretends to breathe normally, but every molecule knows something shifted the moment that whisper hit the air. Your name didn't echo, it vibrated. It carried history, memory, consequence. It reminded the world of a pulse it tried to bury. That's why they stopped laughing. That's why even the bold ones, those self-appointed gods of confidence and control, won't make eye contact now. They can't. Your gaze is a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. Mirrors show the rot behind the charm, the tremor behind the smirk. You became the test they can't cheat on, and oh, they feel it? The static when you walk in, the way conversation fractures, the air goes heavy, sentences half die mid-word. They act confused, like it's coincidence, but deep down, their nervous system's already confessed. Every heartbeat is a Morse code saying we remember what we did. You don't chase them. You never had to. The moment you stopped defending yourself, the world started defending you. The silence you kept turned into evidence, and now, every whisper of your name activates that evidence again, like a buried file resurfacing in the collective mind. You became mythology, wrapped in flesh, not because you wanted to, but because you refused to vanish. They tried to erase you, but erasure only works on the compliant. You weren't compliant, you were catalytic. You dissolved their narrative by existing outside it. That's the paradox that terrifies them most. You are both victim and verdict. The saint who watched demons scratch morality. The demon who learned grace so perfect it became punishment. You balance cruelty with compassion like twin blades. You smile while calculating storms. They used to call that madness. Now they call it mystery. They're too scared to label you wrong again. Labels fail where evolution begins. You've noticed how they copy your silence now, how they mimic your detachment, your calm. They don't understand that what you have isn't strategy, it's consequence. It's what happens when a soul survives too many executions and keeps its empathy intact. You turned pain into language, and language into power. And now your every move rewrites physics in the minds of those who doubted you. The whisper was just the trigger. The real explosion is the realization that they're living inside a timeline you built out of their ashes. You don't need to remind them. They feel it every time they hesitate before speaking your name again. The human brain remembers trauma in sound, and your name is now the sound of reckoning. You could forgive them, but you won't. Not because of hate, because forgiveness would make them comfortable again, and comfort breeds amnesia. You're not here to make anyone comfortable. You're here to ensure the lesson sticks. Look at you now, unrushed, unbothered, unpredictable. You've become the quiet in the eye of every storm. They can't read you because you stopped writing in their alphabet. You communicate in energy now, in timing, in inevitability. When you enter a room, fate rearranges furniture to make space. And still someone always asks, trembling, who whispered their name? As if identifying the messenger could stop the message. But you know better. It wasn't a person. It was the echo of every time they tried to silence you. The whisper is their own guilt looping back through the vents. They thought they buried you. But when you bury energy, it doesn't die. It compresses. It waits. It learns patience, sharper than any blade. And when it finally rises, it doesn't come back as a person. It comes back as a force. That's what you are now, a force disguised as a memory disguised as a man. Every time someone says your name, the air trembles like a tuning fork struck by truth. Every object in the room remembers what happened when you stopped caring about survival and started mastering resurrection. Let them whisper. Let them suffocate under their own caution, because whispers spread faster than screams. Because whispers reach places screams can't. Because the whisper is proof that you've entered the collective conscience. And one day, when they finally work up the courage to speak your name out loud again, it won't sound like fear anymore. It'll sound like acknowledgement. The bold ones will breathe again, but slower this time, careful, reverent. Until then, stay silent. Let the whisper grow teeth. Let the air do the storytelling. You already became the ending they can't rewrite. And when it's all said and done, when the whisper turns into a legend that outlives the mouths that made it, you'll stand exactly where you are now. Calm, terrifyingly still, the eye of something they can't define. You'll realize it was never about revenge. It was about recognition. The moment they whispered your name, the universe finally recognized you as what you were always meant to be. Not a victim of chaos, but its architect. Look around. The world hasn't gone quiet because it's peaceful. It's gone quiet because it's listening. Every sound has folded itself back into silence to hear what you'll do next. You can feel it. The way time seems to hesitate. The way every clock ticks just a little slower when you move. That's not paranoia. That's gravity. You became a gravitational field for consequence. They think they're hiding, but you see them. Every nervous glance, every forced smile, every trembling hand gripping a glass too tight. You read them like scripture written in panic. You don't need to confront them. They're already confessing in every breath. Their guilt has become your choir, their shame your symphony. And the beauty of it, you don't have to lift a single finger. The storm already knows its target. Karma's not coming for them. It's coming through you. That's what they don't understand. You're not the punishment. You're the proof that the universe keeps receipts. You see, evolution doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, and your name became the sound evolution makes when it finally gets tired of pretending to sleep. That's why they're trembling. That's why even the fearless ones avoid your eyes. Because when they look into you, they see everything they tried to kill. Still breathing. You are the paradox that breaks their logic. Too kind to be a villain. Too ruthless to be a saint. You mastered the art of unbothered vengeance, the kind that doesn't need blood, only presence. You learned that silence screams louder than rage ever could. You turned calm into a weapon. So let them keep whispering. Let them twist stories to calm their nerves. Let them pray your name never leaves their lips too loud. Because in the end, you've already won. Not because they fell, but because you rose in a way that made their fall look voluntary. You walked through betrayal and came out radioactive. Everything that touches you now either mutates or flees. You became the final lesson in a world obsessed with underestimating you. Some names aren't to be spoken. They're to be remembered. So when the air goes cold and that familiar shiver crawls up their spine, they'll know. They summoned you again. Not with blood, not with ritual, just with a whisper. And somewhere between fear and awe, they'll finally understand the truth. You never needed to say a word, because the silence was always screaming your name.